Hi, I'm JJ Conway, and I help hardworking women and a few good men build financial confidence and take ownership of their financial future. I'm cheering you on with education on financial literacy, smart investments, and passive income streams. Welcome to Ladies of Wealth.
I feel like somebody is really on the verge of paying for bankruptcy, or they're paying for credit repair, or they're paying for some esoteric product that's supposed to be like an easy button to get them out of their debt. There's no easy button to get you out of your debt. And if there's anybody that's promising you an easy button, you can press that button right now and it's going to seem easy and feel easy in the moment, but it will come back to bite you. You just have to talk to several bankruptcy survivors or foreclosure survivors to realize that all that glitters is not gold. And the second chance that you're promised usually isn't. It broke my heart one time. And they haven't recovered from this. And it's been almost 10 years. It's been 8 years now. It broke my heart one time when someone I knew had a really good business. And I don't know what went wrong in their business. Like normally it kills me. I hate that I have this about me. It's like a superpower. It's like a reverse superpower. Like I can usually tell when a business is going to fail. And I hate that because I usually try to talk to the managers, or I used to try to talk to the managers, and they invariably wouldn't want my opinion or my help or anything. And so then I just, nowadays I might mention a little bit and see if they might be interested in consulting with me, and especially where I live now. So, hey, if you're in Stephenville, Texas, or anywhere in the greater DFW Metroplex and you need a business consult, guess what? I'm relatively new to Texas and I need testimonials. So if you'll give me a testimonial, I'll give you a 2-hour consult, and we'll definitely come up with a way that you can improve your business. So that's a win-win, right? But this particular business, I still don't know what went wrong. It could be that they were having marital problems and that issue with energy was translating into the business. I don't know, but the business was a really good business. The value they provided was good. I was one of their customers, and I really hated to see the business go. And they had about $180,000 worth of business debt. And they came to me asking, how can we get out of having to pay all of this? Now, I get it. That's how we all feel about things, right? Like we want to try to erase that past. We kind of think that creditors should be like the Lord. When we give our life to the Lord, we ask him for forgiveness. He casts our our sins far away as the east is from the west, right? And he just doesn't remember them anymore. There's interpretations. I don't know if the scripture actually says that. We have that conversation some other time. But we generally look at God as not holding it against us, because when he sees us, he sees his son Jesus, and we have received grace, and we have been sanctified and justified and set apart and all the good things, not because of anything we did. And so it's really easy for us to think that we should go to our creditors and they should be able to do the same for us. But that's not how that works. And so, when people come to me and the first question out of their mouth is, how can I get out of having to pay all this? Then I already know we're going downhill fast. And I do my best to salvage it because I don't ever like to turn away a client. But if I have to, I will. And it always broke my heart because they refused to listen to the plan that I laid out. And I laid out the same pro-rata plan for their business as I would lay out for you, and that I also used when I was $800-something thousand in debt. And I was like, if you follow this plan to the T, you will be able to get out of all of this debt, and you will not have to go get sued, and you won't have to file bankruptcy. And I asked them, I said, well, how much is it going to cost you to file bankruptcy? $2,500. Okay, well, let's take that $2,500 that you were going to pay the lawyer. Let's put that aside in a savings account to handle the emergencies of life over the next year. And let's put you on a pro-rata plan for all the other stuff. Oh, well, that's going to cost us too much to pay all that off. Well, how much did the lawyer say you're going to have to pay? Well, out of the $180,000 of debt they had, the lawyer said they were going to end up having to pay about 60 of it. And I was like, well, you're in luck, because with my plan, you shouldn't have to pay any more than 60, if that, because what's going to happen is every month you send those creditors what you can send them. You send them the pro rata letter explaining your business, and then one after another, they will eventually drop away, and you aren't going to have to pay all of that $180,000 back. And I thought it was brilliant. I've never had anybody who did a pro rata plan the way that I teach you to do it that's gotten sued, except for one guy who didn't do it the way I teach him to do it. Because you know what a lot of people like to do is they don't want to put in there, they don't want to put in the letter, if I will pay you back. You know, they don't want to put that in there because they don't want to pay them back. And this guy ended up getting sued because he didn't put that in there. And then he also didn't put his budget in there. So for those of you who don't know what a pro rata plan is, let me just explain that. Well, let me finish telling the story and then I'll explain that. And so, yeah, I felt really bad because I really genuinely liked this couple and I actually liked this business, and doing it the way that I suggested not only would give them avenues to be able to work through it without filing a bankruptcy, but it would also help build strong relationships with the vendors who are now not getting paid. And so if the person ever wanted to, if the couple ever wanted to go back and reopen their business, instead of just take the money and run, or instead of just file bankruptcy, you get nothing. Now they still have a rapport and a relationship with the very vendors that they would need to start all over again. But instead they were like, nope, that sounds like too much work and it's too embarrassing. And I don't want to have to write those letters and I don't want to have to admit that this happened. So we're going to file bankruptcy. Tell me what kind of sense that makes. Tell me what kind of sense that makes. And I feel so bad for them because from time to time I look them up and they're not doing well. I know, I shouldn't do that, but I sometimes stalk my former clients and the ones that didn't become clients just to see how they were doing. Well, this one I really cared about. I really cared about because their business benefited me. It helped me recover my health. And I really wanted to see them succeed. So I'm not a stalker or anything, but I've been told I'm a little mental, but that's okay. So it really was a shame to me that they wouldn't just do what I'm showing you to do. And I've had people have been like, well, I don't know. I'm like, just give it 6 months. Give it 6 months. Give it 6 months. And if you still feel like filing bankruptcy, you can file bankruptcy. Trust me, the bankruptcy lawyers will still be there. They will still take your money and they will still file that bankruptcy for you. But you know what you're going to find out in 6 months of working a pro rata plan? You're going to find out that a lot of those bills are going to fall away. Or you're going to find out that a lot of those people that you owe are going to work with you. You're going to find out that not everybody, okay? There are some banks and there are some furniture stores and there are some vendors that just do not budge and they will not work with you. But for the most part, they will. And if you follow a pro rata plan, you will not get sued. Okay. They won't take you to court for the balance if you do it the way I'm teaching you to do it. So since I'm already on the topic, and I think little one fell hard asleep over there, I know he was wanting to come back. But since I'm already on the topic, let me go ahead and explain what a pro rata plan is. A pro rata plan, pro rata means fair share. At least I've been told. At least that's what I've always known it to be. And basically what you're doing with the pro rata plan is you are making a list of everything that you need to cover. Now, when I cannot pay my bills, I don't need new shoes. Okay. When I can't pay my bills, I don't need to go get my nails done. Okay. When I can't pay my bills, I'll use this as an example because I'm a professional speaker. You would think like, okay, well, I need to get my nails done. I need to do my hair done. But you know what? When I can't pay my bills, instead of $100 to go get my roots touched up, I can go get the $5 can of root cover spray, and we can make that work for a month or two. Okay. So whatever is in our life that can be put on hold when we can't pay our bills, we put it on hold. Okay. And we make a commitment that we're not going to spend any money that we don't have. If I don't have it, I don't spend it. And if the Lord didn't give it to me, then he hasn't called me to give it. Okay. And so we're going to be very clear about that. Okay. And And with that, we're going to say, okay, I need $1,000 a month for my mortgage, or if I can move into a smaller place, or if I don't have a big family and we can drop down to, sharing a room with somebody else or something like that. Whatever we have to do to make that work, we'll make it work. But for whatever it costs for our house, whatever it costs for our basic food. I mean, we're not eating bison steaks every Sunday. All right. We're not saying you got to go beans and rice, because if you're like me, you need some protein, and beans inflame your joints. So maybe a little bit of meat. Okay. But not extravagant. Okay. You need your transportation to and from work, and that's going to include gas. Okay. But that might not include, every time we go to the Dallas church, we can take the long way, which is like 3 hours to 3.5 hours, or we can hop on the toll road, which is like 2.5 hours. We love the toll road, 2.5 hours, love it. But you know what? If we can't pay our bills, I'm not spending $40 in tolls to go to the Dallas church. I'm probably going to find a church here, or I'm going to watch online. Okay. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. All the pastors are going to be mad at me now. All right. Not the Dallas church. They understand. That's why I can use them as an example. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we're cutting out everything that's not necessary. I have to get to work. I have to get to childcare. I have to get to church. I still want to I still believe in paying your tithes and your offerings. But when you can't pay your bills, maybe your offerings become offerings of time instead of money. Right. And so we're still paying our tithes, but maybe our offerings become offerings of time in our service, or we are offering things within our house, or we are offering hospitality, or fill in the blank other things that become offerings, rather than money when we don't have money. Okay. But we're taking those basic necessities. We call the four walls. We call the four walls your housing and utilities, your basic food, your basic transportation, and your basic clothing. Because, if you go to work, you can't, some of us, we can't go to work and not have the proper attire. A lot of us, we can go to work however we want to go to work, and we can make things work, right? Like, you only have a week worth of outfits that fit, right? Well, you're just going to have to work them. And maybe you put something over it and style it a different way, but you just work it, right? But we don't need to go into town 3 hours from here and spend the gas and go shopping every week to have a new outfit every day, like many women like to do. Okay, we're just not going to do that right now. So we can cover our four walls, and then everything else gets its fair share. Okay, so if I have medical bills, if I have furniture store bills, if I have Uncle Tommy helped us put the shed together, and we need to pay him back for that, and this, and we have that, and we have this, and we have that. Well, all those other things that aren't part of my four walls to keep us basically living, all those other things are set off to the side. We take care of the four walls, and then whatever's left, we divide that up according to a fair share. Okay. So if you have a car note, if you can sell it and get a smaller car note, or sell it and get a cash car, that's advised. But if you can't, you still got to pay for your car, because you can't get to work or to daycare without a car in many markets. Okay. Or, I used to love how people would tell me, well, you need to stop having that car, and you need to take the metro to work. When I lived in the DC area, and I lived in Brandywine, y'all, first of all, it was going to take me half an hour to get to the Branch Avenue station, the Green Line. And then you get there, you got to pay to park there. Then you got to pay to get into town. Like, it was cheaper and faster just to drive to work and park in the garage, $95 a month instead of like $20 a day. Oh, well, the government will give you a subsidy of like $100 a month to cover. Yeah, but that didn't even cover it. That didn't even cover half of it. Okay. So you have to weigh all the costs, and don't work in DC. Like, most of my DC clients, we got to build the parking tickets into their budget, because it's not a matter of will you get a parking ticket. It's a matter of how many you get in this week. Like the DC, I've never seen anything crazier than DC parking tickets. Right. And so, we have to look at what we can cut and what's important, what's not important. And then we need to cover our four walls, and then whatever's left, we divide out. So I feel like it would be easier if I drew it out a little bit. Let's see if I'm kind of low on paper here. I'm going to use this corner of this paper. Okay. And I'm going to make some stuff up, and these numbers are going to be round and these numbers are going to be fake. Okay. And I know it. And that's frustrating sometimes because sometimes the numbers aren't real, but I want to make the math easy. Okay. So we're going to say you make $3,500 a month take home. Some of my DC people are like, what? That's how much my daycare costs. Yeah, I remember those days. $2,600 a month, y'all. I couldn't believe how much I was spending on daycare. I was spending more on daycare than my rent. My rent was $1,800 a month, and my daycare on a 4-week month was $2,200, and on a 5-week month was $2,250 versus $2,600 on a 4-week versus a 5-week month. Like, ridiculous. I do not miss those days. I miss DC, but I don't miss those days. All right. So let's say your 4 walls is $2,500. Okay. So again, our 4 walls is going to be our housing, transportation. Okay. Transportation also includes your gas and your insurance. Your housing also includes your utilities and stuff. Basic food. I got to put that on there because, you know, some of us are a little bougie. And it's funny. I even have a little song now. When I go to the store and we get my bougie tomatoes, I even sing the bougie tomato song. Bougie tomatoes. Yeah. Because I love them. They're so good. They remind me of my grandma's garden the few times I was able to visit her as a kid. Oh my goodness. Basic food, basic clothing. And some financial planners don't include clothing. I feel like we can't ignore that because if you're going to be doing a pro-rata plan that is in for the long haul and stuff wears out, okay? We're not the children of Israel wandering for 40 years and our clothes aren't wearing out and our shoes aren't wearing out. But you know what I do find is the Lord makes a way for you. When you make a commitment to this lifestyle, the Lord makes a way, and it may just well be that your clothes don't wear out, okay? But we're gonna call that. Okay, this is our pro-rata example, okay? So I've drawn it out over here, okay? So you have left over is $1,000, okay? So what you have left is $1,000. Left. Wow, spelling in public, okay? So now if I owe, let's see how we make these round. Okay, if I owe, let's do furniture. I almost said the name of the worst one. Furniture. Let's say I owe them, and I'm going to go, you can finagle it how you want to. Sometimes we do the pro rata based on the total amounts owed. I'm going to just go by the basic monthly payments. Okay. So let's say you have 3 bills. Your furniture is $500 a month. Your, you got a clothing store, Dillard's, Macy's, you know, and that's $300 a month. Okay. Oh, that's not a good example. Whoops. Because I need it to be only $100. All right. Let's do 2,900. Okay. So if you're listening to me as part of the podcast, I do apologize. We're going to make this just $100 left because that's what I need it to be is $100 left. Like you have $100 left at the end of your money. Okay. And then you have a pet that got sick. So you have care credit and that's $200 a month. Okay. And so your total amount owed is $1,000 a month. Okay. And so what these end up being, if I was to do a fair share, I got $100 left, but I got $1,000 in bills that I've got to pay. Okay. I can't pay $1,000 of bills worth $100. And what a lot of us want to do is we want to try to save our credit. So we're going to throw everything in our credit and we're going to let other things fall apart. Well, the reality is if you're in this kind of a situation, your credit is already bad. And so you don't even need to stress about that. Okay. But because I only have $100 left, I'm going to give everybody their fair share. I'm going to write this out next to it. Okay. The furniture fair share of the month's bills that are left over is 50%. Okay, so I'm going to do 50%. Okay, the clothing share is 30%. Okay. The pet credit is 20%. Okay. So if I have $100 left, oh, I didn't give myself enough space. If I have $100 left, then I'm only paying $50 a month to the furniture. Let's see if I can make that bigger. Okay, there we go. I'm only paying $50 to the furniture. I'm paying $30 to the clothing. I'm paying $20 to the care. Okay. Maybe I have $200 left a month. Okay. I'm paying $100 to the furniture. I'm paying $60 to the clothing. I'm paying $40 to the care. Okay. Maybe I only have $50 a month. Okay. I'm paying $25 to the furniture. I'm paying $15 to the clothing. I'm paying $10 to the pets. Okay. FCC. Let me put pets on that. Pet care. Okay. All right. I'm going to show you this in the chart. I realize me looking down is probably not the most appetizing thing. Okay. But whatever you have left over, they're getting their percentage of that. Okay. So if I've got $5 left, well, it's kind of hard to do, but it's probably going to end up being a 2-2-1 or a 2-1-1, and then I use the other one to put some money in the gumball machine for me and my kid. I don't know, but that's all you got. And if you'll do this, you stop digging the hole. But won't they add on fees, and won't they tack on this, and won't they tack on that? Sure they will. But at least you are not digging your personal debt, your personal life bubble hole deeper. Okay. I don't know how to explain that well, because is the furniture company going to be difficult to work with, and they're not going to let up? Probably not. But you don't have it. So push that off. You got to put food on your table. You got to make sure your kids can get to school and get to daycare. You got to make sure you got a job. If you don't get to your job on time because you don't have any money to put gas in your car, well, then you can't earn more money. You got to earn more money. Okay. And so you push that off. And for the most part, if you do it the way I'm teaching you, you are not going to end up with all these extra fees and stuff, because you are going to actually send them a letter which precludes them from doing so. Let me tell you, there are some vendors that have not wanted to work with this. Okay. So I'm not saying this works for everybody. Okay. But I'm going to give you the basics of a pro-rata plan. Okay. And I didn't plan this out, or I probably would have made a chart, because that's easier than me speaking it and writing it. But there's key elements you need to have in a pro-rata plan. One, you need to explain why you can't pay your bills. You don't have to go into 2 pages of detail, all right? Because the more detail you give, the more they think you're lying. So explain briefly why. Why can't you pay your bills? Lost my job, got sick, husband died, my dad died, hard times, economic change, fill in the blank, whatever it is. You know what's a really good one to tell creditors when you can't pay your bills? I was foolish with money, and I'm trying to get my life back together. And you would be amazed at how far that goes with your creditors. Okay. You explain briefly why. Why can't you pay your bills? 2, you give them your basic budget. So you show them why you can't pay your bills, because you just don't have enough money. You list your creditors and your amounts owed. Okay. Why are you doing this? Again, you are painting a picture for this creditor that not only can you not pay them, but you understand where you went wrong, and you understand the mountain you have to climb, and you hope that they'll understand too. Okay. 4, you're going to promise to pay them in full one day. This is very important. You got to promise to pay them in full one day. If you don't promise to pay them in full one day, they're going to think you're lying. They're going to think you're taking their bill money that you should be paying them, and you're buying a big screen TV for the big game. Or they think that you're going to take the bill money you should be paying them and you're going on your next cruise. Okay. So you want to, now look, don't put this in place and say, I don't have any money. And then you post all these pictures on the internet, you going on to Disney. Okay. And if you do post pictures on Disney, it better be somebody blessed us with this trip. We're trying to get our money together, and we're so thankful somebody blessed us with this trip. Okay, because this is not a strategy to manipulate people into giving you an out for the bills that you legit owe. That's not what I'm suggesting here. Okay, you're going to promise to pay them in full one day, and then number 5, you're going to tell them, here is your fair share. And that's the 5 key steps of a pro-rata plan. Okay, you're going to explain to them what happened. I was bad with money. I thought because I could make the minimum payments, I was okay. And now the minimum payments have grown so high, I realized I made a mistake. I lost my job and it took me 6 months to find another one. I had a really bad car accident that ended my military career. Okay, whatever it is that happened, that something happened. But if nothing happened, it's okay to just say, I messed up and I'm trying to get my life back together. Okay, you're going to show them your basic budget, how you cover your 4 walls. And let me tell you, don't you put on there that, this is going to sound bad. This is going to sound harsh. I know you're not going to like me after I say this, but if you are facing these problems, private school is not a must pay. And I have lived in states like Alabama and Louisiana and some parts of Maryland where private school feels like a must pay, because otherwise your kids are not getting a good education. However, that is not considered a must pay in this kind of a situation. Oh, I'm going to lose some people on that one, but I'm telling you, you put your basic budget on there. Okay, you put your basic income so they see what you have coming in and what you have going out. Now, you don't need to get it down to the nth degree. You don't need to know that $5 a month you put aside so you can go to Starbucks every other month. Okay, you don't need them to know that. You need to have the basic categories. Okay, but you need to put it out there, and you need to be honest about it, and it needs to be something that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then you need to cut it temporarily. Oh, well, I can't cut my cable. I can't cut my internet. I can't cut my cell phone. You can cut a lot of things. If you can't handle the cut fees, the cancellation fees, put it in vacation mode for 6 months. Can you get away without watching TV on your cable for 6 months? Sure, you can. You know why? Because there's all kinds of places you can go for free to watch TV or to use the internet. I wrote 2 books now, actually, sitting outside of Starbucks and Whataburger. I forgot about the first one. The first one wasn't a real published book, so I don't know if it really counts or anything. But, I published books that I wrote sitting at Panera Bread or in Starbucks or in Whataburger, or when I didn't have any money to buy a drink that day, sitting in the one parking spot I could sit in where nobody could see that I was sitting there. Yes, you can do it. I promise you can do it. As I got better as I got some more money and I had editor come in and edit some of my next books, one of my editors did the exact same thing. She was going through a rough time and she literally edited my book sitting outside of Starbucks because she couldn't even afford the $1 something to go in and get a tea. It can be done. If you are committed to your financial future, it can be done. All right. So you're going to do your basic, you're going to explain why you can't pay your bills, your basic budget. You're going to list the creditors and how much you owe them. You are going to promise to pay in full. You're not going to have to pay in full, but you are going to promise to pay in full. Most of your creditors are going to drop you off in about 6 to 7 months. They're going to start dropping fees. They're going to start cutting your amount owed in half. They're going to start forgiving parts of the debt. They might even forgive all of the debt. You're not going to have to pay all of it, most likely. But you better promise to pay it all. And if you got one of those that play hardball, you better be prepared to pay it all. Okay? It can be done. Then you're going to say, here's your fair share. You're going to write them a check for their fair share and no more. And then you're going to rinse and repeat every month until you get into a better financial situation, or until they change the amount owed, until they release you from some of the obligations that you might have incurred, or whatever happens to change the finances. You're going to rinse and repeat that until you are out of this mess. And I'm promising you right now, I have not had one creditor. No. Let me say that again. I have not had one client yet who has had to execute this process for more than a year. Haven't had it. Everybody that's walked through this process, usually they're done in about 6 months. What? They paid off all that debt in 6 months? No, what happened in 6 months is the creditor was getting their $5 every month, and they're like, wow, we're never going to get this money. This person really has good intentions. They're doing the best they can, but this is going to take us 20,000 years to get all of our money back. We're going to strike that. That's usually what happens. Again, this is not a tool to manipulate. This is a tool to help you when you're in a really bad situation. And I find that a lot of us won't even take advantage of that opportunity because we're in so much pride and we have so much, how do I want to say it? One reason people don't take advantage of a pro-rata plan is pride. They don't want to have to make the phone calls and send the letters every month to basically say they're struggling with money. Okay. I hate to break it to you, but when you can't pay your bills and you're constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul, things are always going to fall through the cracks, and on paper and in your credit, it's going to look like you're struggling with money. There's no way you can get around that. So just own it and say, okay, I messed up and now I'm getting it better. Okay. The other reason a lot of people don't like to execute a pro-rata plan is because, quite frankly, they don't want to pay their bills. They don't want to pay the debt. And that's the thing that's really hard for me. Like, I understand when we struggle and we can't do it, but for those of you who heard the story about the couple that decided to file bankruptcy instead of working the pro-rata plan, they turned around and bought the wife of the couple turned around and bought designer shoes not long after that because they thought, oh, everything's better now. No, everything wasn't better. It was just the quiet before the storm. And now that's something that's going to haunt them for a very long time. Okay. I hope that's been a blessing to you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. If you haven't connected with me on social media, please go out to JJ Knows the Way and connect with me on social media, and I'll connect with you. And that way we can help each other build wealth together. Now, one thing I want to say real quick, the only way that JJ knows the way is because I know the one who is the way. And if you want to know the way, let's talk about him today. Y'all take care. Have a good night and be blessed.
Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and ask your question at ladiesofwealth.com.